Hi, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and I went ahead and rewatched the preseason game back to back a couple of times so I can make sure I really hone down on looking at certain players. And this video I'm coming with is the overall review for the preseason game, and we're gonna go specifically by player. We're splitting it up with the stock ups and the stock downs. Which players' stocks have gone up, which players' stocks have gone down. Of course, I'm gonna briefly talk about the obvious guys in the beginning, like the Terry McLaurins, Chase Youngs, and guys like that. But the majority of this video are the guys that we were uncertain about, especially the rookies. But any new additions, any guys that are on the outside looking in as far as the roster goes, guys that we hope make the 53-man roster, all of that type of stuff. So those are the guys we'll be talking about the most in this video. Now, I'm doing this format right here just because my eye still got me down a little bad, but it's not as bad as yesterday. So hopefully I can get this Dyami Brown film session out to y'all tonight, or, you know, relatively early tomorrow, maybe like afternoon or something. So be on the lookout for that. But this preseason game was very telling, and we definitely came out net positive. There were more great moments than bad moments, easily by far, not even close. So there's a couple of stock downs, but there's a lot of stock ups. But before we dive into this video, make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video like this one. Also, go check out my Jamin Davis film session. Be on the lookout for my Dyami Brown film session coming out soon. And I appreciate everybody that pulled up to the live streams last night. I will be live streaming every preseason game in full. Again, just couldn't do it all the way last night because my eye was killing me. Being in front of bright lights, I just can't do it right now. That's why I'm doing this video in this format where you can't see me. Normally for a video like this, you'll be able to see me, but my eye's killing me. So I will be live streaming every preseason game, every regular season game, and every postseason game I'm speaking into existence. So be on the lookout for all of those live streams as well. And I will be bringing back the post-game live streams where y'all call in and you can cuss out Ryan Fitzpatrick if you want to. You can shout out whichever players you felt like played very well, all of that type of stuff. Y'all call into the show and let all of your emotions go. It's the show for y'all to talk and I just mediate. So that will be returning. And of course, check out the rest of the channel, man. All of my videos are organized in playlists. I even have a comedy playlist for all of my funny videos. And without further ado, man, let's get it. Of course, any video like this, we got to start with the injuries. Of course, yesterday there was no Curtis Samuel, still on the PUP list, recovering from his groin injury. There was also no Montez Sweat due to illness. Wasn't COVID-19, but it was an illness, but I expect him to be back very soon. And then Matt Heinicke, his situation is really strange because he's off of the COVID-19 list, but it's been like a week and a half and he still hasn't practiced, like for real, playing 11-on-11s and things like that since then. He wasn't able to play yesterday in the preseason. So I don't know, his COVID-19 situation is really weird because a lot of the other guys like Deron Payne, Brandon Sheriff, and guys like that, they were on the COVID-19 list, off of it very soon afterwards. So I'm guessing that was more of a contact tracing type of thing. Whereas Matt Heinicke, I mean, he's still down bad even though he's off of the list. So he must have actually had it. I don't know. That's just me speculating. But moving on, we got to talk about the obvious. First of all, Terry McLaurin was pretty much always open, except for like one play, a great play by J.C. Jackson. But honestly, if the ball was there a little bit sooner, technically Terry McLaurin was open on that play as well. Also, Fitzpatrick running the offense was very smooth. He already has great chemistry with our best playmakers, Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, Adam Humphries, as we've seen in practice. It just looked really smooth. If it weren't for that slip up by Adam Humphries on that 3rd and 2, the chains would have kept moving. We may have scored a touchdown. Also, of course, Chase Young finally using some technique in hands. He got a strip sack on the first 3rd down our defense has faced all season. I mean, literally the first defensive 3rd down of the year, and he gets a strip sack. Again, he's already a freak athlete, but it's great to see him finally use some technique and some hands. He said he would, and he's going out there and showing it. And like I keep telling y'all, he wasn't fully healthy until week 11 last year, and he's already fully healthy right now. So this is about to be a huge breakout season for him. He's going to be deadly on obvious passing downs. I mean, he had 7 pass rushing snaps and had 2 pressures. With that pressure rate stretched over the course of a season, even though it's very unrealistic to assume he would keep that up for an entire year, but that would have been the best in the NFL by far last year. TJ Watt led the league with 18%. Chase Young had 28% last night. Literally unreal. Like the potential best pass rushing season of all time type of numbers. And then he also drew a holding penalty because Jonnu Smith knew Chase Young was about to kill their running back, and sometimes it's just better to hold on for dear life than to just let him eat up your running back. Also, Logan Thomas is definitely on a campaign to show that he's a top 7, top 5 tight end in the NFL. I definitely believe in that campaign. I think his floor is top 7. And then Antonio Gibson finally getting involved in the passing game like they said he would. Again, last year, they didn't use him much in the passing game because they just wanted him to get constant reps and reps and reps of just being a running back so he can get better vision, better patience, knowing when and where to hit which certain holes and things like that. So they just wanted him to be a better overall running back, so they didn't include him in the passing game because they're like, we already know you could do that. And last year was more of like a sacrifice trial run type of season. This year we're for real. We're doing everything we can to win games. No more experimenting once we hit the regular season like we did all throughout last year. So Antonio Gibson will finally be heavily involved in the passing game like we got a little taste of it last night. Also, before we move on to the stock up, stock downs, the main theme that you'll hear a lot in this video is that certain guys look way better in preseason than they do in practice. I mean, Taylor Heinicke, Steven Montez, Samuel Cosmi, Sammis Reyes, Jared Patterson, just to name a few. There was some other guys as well, but I think the main reason for this is the fact that they go against top tier competition in practice, like especially in Samuel Cosmi's case. When you're blocking against Chase Young and Montez Sweat every day, all day in practice, non-stop, when you go against other teams' edge rushers, it's going to seem easy in comparison. Nothing's easy in the NFL, but you see what I mean. When you're used to blocking Chase Young and Montez Sweat, when you finally get to block a Judon, he's still a really good edge rusher, but he's not Chase Young or Montez Sweat, so you're able to hold your own. So of course you look better in preseason than in practice, because in practice you're going against the best of the best. Same thing with Benjamin St. Juste having to cover Terry McLaurin in practice. It's going to seem so much easier for him to cover other guys, and so on and so forth up and down the list. And then there are just certain guys like Taylor Heinicke and Steven Montez, just the way their games are set up with second chance plays and using their legs to make things happen. Those plays don't easily translate into practice. Whereas in real game situations, they can actually do that type of stuff and really make things shape. But let's start with the stock ups. First of all, Benjamin St. Juste at outside corner. Love it. Love it. Looked really good. Looked like everything I expected out of him in that small little bit of action he got yesterday. Was wrapped around receivers all day, so he barely even got thrown to. I was super happy they finally threw towards him because then he made the play and batted the ball down, forced the incompletion. So I was really happy to see that. It's as if like Ron Rivera was like, hey, Bill Belichick, please just draw up a play to throw it to Benjamin St. Juste so I can see what I have in him. And they finally did it. Thank goodness. Samuel Cosmi at right tackle. Super duper stock up. I mean, he looked like one of our best offensive linemen yesterday. He was holding it down with the starting group, and then they just want him to get extra minutes and reps, so he was even out there with the backups as well because they just want him to play as much as possible. So week 1, we know for sure he's ready to be that starting right tackle. Off of the performance we got yesterday, he definitely is starting at right tackle. There's no question about it anymore. Pro Football Focus gave him an 81.8 grade, first amongst all tackles who played in the game between Washington and the Patriots. He played on 25 pass blocking snaps, and of course he had 0 sacks allowed. He had that one false start, and we're going to ignore that though. You know what I'm saying? That's that Morgan Moses treatment where you false start, get up a little bit early, and the refs don't call it. I'll take it. Still needs to fix it, but nothing to panic about at all. Samuel Cosmi had a pancake one play where he was just literally bullying somebody. And he even got a 92.4 run blocking grade from Pro Football Focus, which goes into his 81.8 overall grade. They didn't give him a high pass blocking grade, but I actually liked him. Again, 25 pass blocking snaps, no sacks. I'm really happy with that result. And I think he's only going to get better and better constantly practicing against Chase Young and Montez Sweat. But the fact that they gave him an almost 93 overall run blocking grade, that makes me very happy because I'm not sure if people really thought about this, but Brandon Sheriff is our most talented offensive lineman, right? And Chase Roulier is a top 5 center, right? So if Samuel Cosmi on that right side along with them is a great run blocker, that's where we're going to run the ball to. If it's 3rd and 1 or if it's goal line and we just really need a yard or two, run it to that right side now that we know that Samuel Cosmi is an excellent top tier run blocker in the NFL already. And then you have Brandon Sheriff left guard, Chase Roulier center. we should be able to run it to the right side whenever we want to. We should be able to dominate the trenches that way. I love to hear that at least one half of our offensive line is ready to go, especially specifically in the run game, because we're going to need it. I want to be a balanced offense. I want to be explosive and have a lot of deep throws and stuff like that. That's going to come along, but I want to be balanced as well, and I want our running backs to take over games so Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't even able to turn into Ryan Fitzpatrick. That run game is going to matter a lot for that. Also, another stock up, big stock up, Dyami Brown at receiver, anywhere you want to put him. He was open all last night. Taylor Heinicke missed him on a couple of throws. One post route, he was open. One time deep down the field on a fade route, he beat everybody on the Patriots. Taylor Heinicke overthrew him. Dyami Brown is ready. And then when the ball was actually thrown his way, he was able to catch it. So we got a little taste of what I feel like he's going to be. And I do feel like he's going to be the second best receiver on this team. It's going to be Terry McLaurin 1A, Dyami Brown 1B, and then everybody else making plays. That's not to say Curtis Samuel isn't a great receiver. I'm that high on Dyami Brown. And thank goodness he validated some of my opinions last night. Another huge stock up, Jared Patterson, do it all running back. I mean, at this point, not only should he make the 53-man roster, which I hoped he would because I felt like he was very talented, but like he should be the guy right after Antonio Gibson. I mean, again, I don't really count J.D. McKissic as a third down back. That's kind of a different thing. He's literally what we wanted and hoped Chris Thompson would ever be. We literally have that at J.D. McKissic. I feel like that's not talked about enough. But even on top of that, Jared Patterson, I feel like him and Antonio Gibson should be that perfect 1-2 punch. Because you don't want Antonio Gibson out here getting crazy mileage and getting beat up early and often in his career, because that's how Ezekiel Elliott has gotten to where he's gotten already. We prefer to have more of like a Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt type of thing where they almost get even carries, but I still think Antonio Gibson will definitely get the majority of them. But we don't want him getting 80% or like the vast majority like a Derrick Henry or an Ezekiel Elliott. And I think Jared Patterson definitely gives us the luxury of sitting Antonio Gibson every now and then, and he's going to just hold it down. I loved what I saw from him in the preseason. I mean, he had that one great catch as well where Taylor Heinicke kind of underthrew it, even though it's still a great play by Taylor Heinicke, but like Jared Patterson had to almost die for it and barely get it off of the turf. Jared Patterson has shown that he has good vision, good cutting. He has good patience. He knows what hole to hit and when. So I'm super excited. Ron Rivera, after the game, compared him to Darren Sproles. In my opinion, he's a stronger version of Darren Sproles. So I'm really excited because I think he's going to be even better than Darren Sproles. Also, stock up on Taylor Heinicke as a top-tier backup. Again, just to let y'all know, Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starting QB. At this point, Taylor Heinicke is competing against Kyle Allen for the backup role. He's not even necessarily in contention for the week 1 starting role. Maybe at some point if Ryan Fitzpatrick gets hurt or he looks bad, which I hope doesn't happen, neither of us should hope it happens, because that means we're going to lose a few games if that does happen, or our offense is going to fall behind to some extent, at least for a little while. But if it does happen, then maybe Taylor Heinicke comes in and starts a couple of games this year or something. But if nothing like that happened, if Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't fall off the face of the earth, if Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't get hurt, he's your starting quarterback this year, point blank period. But again, I give a stock up for Taylor Heinicke as a top tier backup quarterback, because you could definitely argue he's the best backup quarterback in the NFL. But George Cosmi on Twitter did a good job of pointing out that Ryan Fitzpatrick's yards per attempt were 7.2, where Taylor Heinicke's last night, even as good as he looked at times, was 5.7, which was less than Alex Smith and Haskins last year over the course of the season as far as yards per attempt go. So, I mean, granted, a lot of his throws were dinking and dunking, but sometimes it was the smart play to make. It was the right play to make. So I don't want to get on him too hard for that. But like, I mean, he started off really slow. He had a really bad throw in the double coverage with Tamarick Hemingway that should have been intercepted. He missed Dyami Brown a couple of times when Dyami Brown should have had big plays, easy first downs, maybe even a touchdown on that one deep ball. I mean, his lack of arm strength showed on that, again, that amazing play with him and Jared Patterson, but still, like, somebody with a stronger arm, maybe Jared Patterson doesn't have to dive to the floor to catch it. So he kind of had an up and down game. I would say Ryan Fitzpatrick was somewhere like in the high 80s if I had to give a grade. Taylor Heinicke was in the low 80s. So it wasn't like he was just terrible, but you can tell that Ryan Fitzpatrick is a starting quarterback. A big stock up, probably the one I'm happiest about, is Sammis Reyes, man. Now, granted, both of his catches were kind of double catches, but at the end of the day, he still caught them, and they both went for first downs. He's already showing us that he can be a playmaker early on. I mean, first preseason action, and this is a guy that has never played football in his life. I mean, other than this offseason worth of practices and this one preseason game, this is literally the only football he knows. I mean, he literally didn't even know what an audible was until just a few months ago. Like, he literally knows nothing about football. Like, even us as fans watching the burgundy and gold growing up, loving the team, we know what audibles are. We know what a 3-4 defense is. We know what a 4-3 defense is. He didn't know any of that. I mean, he literally had to learn the very basics of football, and already in his first attempt of suiting up and going against another team that's suiting up, it's not just practice, he went out there and grabbed 2 first downs. I love to hear that. Again, he's way ahead of schedule. He has to make this 53-man roster because, I mean, even if he doesn't look like one of our 3 best tight ends today, I think he has all-pro potential, again, because he's already way ahead of schedule than we expected. And I definitely don't want to hear anything about his bobble catches, because you need to have that same energy towards Tamarick Hemingway, who not only dropped the pass, he gave up a sack, he had multiple horrible blocking efforts, and he even got knocked down on a couple of routes. So Tamarick Hemingway is second on the depth chart on tight ends. I'm pretty sure, I mean, he's on the outside looking in, may not even make the 53-man roster just off of how horrible his performance was last night. We're going to talk about him a little bit more in the stock down, but I just want to point out that even though Sammis Reyes was out here double catching passes, at least he caught them. I mean, Ricky Seals-Jones had the chance to make a great play in the end zone one time. Granted, it was pass interference, but you still got to catch that. Sammis Reyes caught what came to him. And then even after the game, Ron Rivera said that Sammis Reyes may be the team's most physical blocker. So not even just out of the tight ends, but the entire team, he's probably our most physical blocker. That is huge praise coming from the head coach, and there's no way you let a guy like that go. Even if he couldn't catch, even if he was Jeremy Sprinkles with the hands, with him being a team's most physical blocker, or at least in contention to be that guy, you have to keep him on the 53-man roster, because at least he can just come in and, like I said, we want to run to that right side, put Sammis Reyes out there on the outside shoulder of Samuel Cosmi, and we should be able to run it to the right any play we want to. It doesn't matter how many defenders they throw at us. I mean, there was one play, Sammis Reyes with bad technique, horrible hand placement, had his hands kind of around the defender's arms, didn't even have it in his chest where you want him to be, and he still took that guy 5 yards away from the play. Whoever was the running back on the play, I don't remember. He ran the ball. He had such a wide open hole because the defender that was supposed to be there, Sammis Reyes, literally just escorted him out of the play 5 yards away. So he's looking like he's going to be a great dual threat tight end. Again, may not be soon, may not even be this season, but eventually, maybe 2-3 years from now, he definitely has all-pro tight end potential. People already see him as a more athletic Jimmy Graham, but with him already being potentially one of our best blockers on the team, at least physicality-wise, just imagine a Jimmy Graham that could also pancake defensive ends, but again, more athletic on top of that. Come on now, he has to make the team. There's no way he doesn't. There's no way you can convince me that we need to keep a Ricky Seals-Jones or a Tamarick Hemingway over him. I don't care. And I'm just so happy that he went out there in preseason and showed why a lot of us really want him to make this team. Also, a big stock up, DeAndre Carter's punt returning. Hey, yo, it's definitely better than anything we got last year. I can tell you that. Definitely better. Danny Johnson looked pretty decent on kick returns as well, but DeAndre Carter finally brought something to our special teams game of running north and south, no more just left and right, taking whatever the other team gives you. And then, I mean, he has explosion. We've seen from his Texans days that he could take it to the house. So I think his stock went up yesterday with his ability to be a dependable returner. Once he's able to show some of his explosion, I think he makes the 53-man roster. Also, big stock up on Scott Turner's offense and creativity. Guys were open all over the place. Our team was balanced. We ran the ball well. We passed the ball well. I mean, there was even one formation I remember last night where J.D. McKissick and Logan Thomas were your 2 running backs in the backfield. Super random, but that's the type of stuff that defenses won't know what to do. Our offense will be so ambiguous and explosive, defenses won't know, like, what does that mean? What does Logan Thomas and J.D. McKissick in the backfield mean? So our offense is going to be super creative, super unpredictable, super explosive. I'm really excited. Scott Turner's offense stock is definitely up. It's just up to the guys to execute. Also, Torrey McTyer making play after play after play after play. I mean, he came out that Friday night practice where their fans were able to go to FedEx Field and watch everybody. He was out there balling. I mean, he had one of the best performances of the night out of anybody, even including the starters. Then, in a couple of practices since then, he's looked pretty good as well. And then he went out there in this preseason game and made one of the best defensive plays all night. Again, out of the starters, backups, anybody, Torrey McTyer's name keeps coming up. I mean, first of all, Mac Jones, let me point out the fact that he already looks better than I thought he would be. So shouts out to the Patriots, because I'm pretty sure they're happy with what they saw in him last night. That was a great start to his career. But he threw one supposed touchdown that, like, it was super accurate, beautiful pass. Receiver was where he needed to be to catch it. But Torrey McTyer, great recovery, great hands to break up the pass to stop what should have easily have been a touchdown. That was a great throw by Mac Jones. But again, Torrey McTyer's out here making plays. He has to be turning heads amongst the burgundy and gold coaches. Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, Chris Harris have to be noticing this random guy that's just out here making play after play after play. And even if he was an afterthought up to that Friday night practice, now they really need to pay attention to him and give him some reps with the ones to see if he can truly hang with the best of them, because he's out there making plays and he definitely deserves more consideration for making this 53-man roster. I mean, he might have taken somebody's spot last night. Also, stock up on Steven Montez as a playable backup. I mean, literally, until last night, he looked unplayable, whether it be practice, whatever. He literally looked like we were better off just throwing Logan Thomas out there at quarterback. But now, last night, he actually showed that, when in doubt, if our defense plays very well, if we're able to run the ball, you could win some games maybe with Steven Montez. Again, you don't want him out there. That's not the goal. But again, he looks playable. That's the key word. He doesn't look like an embarrassment on the field anymore. So big stock up on Steven Montez. Still may not make the team, will more than likely be on the practice squad. But like, with the way he played last night, maybe if he's on our practice squad, another team scoops him up and he gets a real opportunity with somebody else, because he actually looked pretty decent yesterday. And we have to take into context that last night was his first preseason game. Even though it seems like he's been on the team for forever, he didn't get a chance to do anything in preseason last year. It got canceled. And he's just another one of those guys, just like Taylor Heinicke. They play better than they practice. With the way that they make plays with their legs and second chance opportunities, making plays on the run and things like that, unconventional, off-script type of playmaking. He's just one of those guys. He's going to look better in preseason than he does in practice. And again, because our defense is better than the Patriots. The defense he practices against in practice is definitely better than the defense he practices against when he went against the Patriots. Also, AGG's two-point conversion play that should have been a catch, that definitely was a catch, finally showed a little bit of what he can be. I wouldn't say he had a great night last night, but that one should have been two-point conversion. First of all, great throw from Steven Montez again. That was a really good night from him. But, I finally got to see a little bit of like, oh, okay, that's why they drafted him. He's shown little flashes in training camp, and he showed a flash right there in preseason. Not sure if it's enough for him to make the team, but like, we're finally starting to see something out of him, because last year, even in practices, we didn't really see much. This year, we're seeing it in practice, and he shows a little something on that two-point conversion play. You just can't teach that height. You can't teach those hands. And also, I mean, I'm a big Kelvin Harmon fan. I want Kelvin Harmon to make the roster over a lot of these other guys, but AGG showed you a little something last night to where you can kind of see like, oh, okay, if they choose him over Kelvin Harmon, I can see why. I still prefer Kelvin Harmon, but again, you can't teach that height. And that was a pretty good play. Also, David Bada showed he belongs. He looks like he's going to be a quality backup defensive lineman, and that's big for him. He's a great story, because usually those international pathway players don't make the roster. They're usually, I don't want to say they're so bad because it sounds horrible, but like, there's a reason that NFL teams allow us to have an extra roster spot, a 91st spot for these international pathway players, because they're normally not even good enough to replace one of the 90 guys already on the team. And so they want to encourage teams to pick them up by granting them that extra roster spot just to give them a chance. And he went out there and not only looked like he belonged on the top 90, but he looked like he belonged on the top 53. And honestly, with Tim Settle's contract situation coming up, that may be something we really need to look into, because I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Settle takes more money and takes on more responsibility and a larger role starting as a defensive lineman on another team. So we lose him in free agency this upcoming offseason. And David Bada is your next up backup interior defensive lineman. I mean, again, Matt Ioannidis, I don't necessarily consider him a backup because he plays so much. But like, to replace Tim Settle, we may have David Bada who's ready. That was the best I've ever seen from him. And then now on to the stock downs.
Move this man!
First up, Jamin Davis, very minimal. It's kind of like a middle. He's at where we kind of expected him to be. We would hope he would be able to do more, but he's definitely clearly behind the other rookies. Again, it wasn't horrible, but it also wasn't good. And I mean, it's kind of not fair because Samuel Cosmi, he's getting better clearly from going against Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Benjamin St-Juste is clearly getting better going against Terry McLaurin, Cam Sims, Adam Humphries. De'Ami Brown is getting better, vice versa, going against William Jackson, Kendall Fuller, all of those guys, Benjamin St-Juste. Whereas Jamin Davis, the things he needs to get better at is play recognition, instincts. He needs to get his mental processing speed up. He needs to be able to decide what the offense is doing and sniff out plays sooner. And it doesn't matter how great our offense is, even if he were going against the Chiefs in practice so far in the training camp, it's only been a couple of weeks, so it's really hard for him to learn. That's just something that's going to come with time and reps and snaps. So that's why they left him out there to play with the backups. That's why he's probably going to play a lot, even as a starter, a potential starter on this team. He's going to play a lot in preseason along with the backups because all he needs is time and reps. Everything physical checks out. He looks like one of the most athletic linebackers in the NFL, but you can also tell he's deciding on what to do and when to do it way too late. A lot of his tackles yesterday, he kind of made some plays. They weren't great plays, but he had some tackles, but they were like 7 yards down the field. Whereas if, his mental processing speed was up to where we would hope it would be by now. But again, I didn't expect it to be, because even Logan Paulson said on John Combs' podcast recently that Jamin Davis just isn't there yet mentally. A lot of those 7-yard plays should have been 2 yards or maybe even stopped at the line of scrimmage. So he's just a little behind mentally. Again, it's kind of not fair because Benjamin St-Juste, De'Ami Brown, Samuel Cosmi, they have direct solutions on what you can do to make them better. Whereas Jamin Davis, there's no we can do this play with this player and that's immediately going to make them better by tomorrow. No, it's just going to take time. It's going to take weeks. Week 1 isn't tomorrow against the Chargers. So hopefully by then, with the next few weeks of practice and preseason, he'll be ready by then, but I'm not sure. Again, not necessarily a stock down, but it needs to be addressed. Also, not a super stock down, but Charles Leno was easily the weakest link of our starting O-line. He was the only one that just got beat. Ryan Fitzpatrick took a big hit because of Charles Leno on the play that you literally see on your screen right now. I mean, just literally got beat. So right now, it's not hit the panic button for 2 reasons. First of all, he wasn't horrible, but he was clearly the weakest link in starting O-line. Number 2, Cornelius Lucas, we already saw, was a really solid starting left tackle last year. That's why I felt like we didn't need to address left tackle round 1 in a draft or anything, because when in doubt, Cornelius Lucas showed us that he could be at least a mid-tier tackle in the NFL last year. And so when in doubt, if Charles Leno is just that bad, start Cornelius Lucas at left tackle. Nothing to really worry about in my opinion. Also, probably the biggest stock down is Tamarick Hemingway. Again, when I was talking about the stock up for Sammis Reyes, I already gave you the examples of why Tamarick Hemingway was so bad, and he was terrible. He literally may have gone from second on the depth chart to not even making the 53-man roster that fast. He was that bad yesterday. It was terrible. He still has a couple of more preseason games, some more practices to show what he can do, but that was not a great start at all. He definitely has to be on the outside looking in already. And then lastly, Dustin Hopkins. Come on, bro. Come on. This slow start thing, I'm getting tired of it. You do this every season. The beginning of the season, you're awful. Middle of the season, you hit stuff you shouldn't hit, but then you also miss easy kicks. So it's just what are you doing? And then by the end of the season, he looks good enough to where, okay, maybe next year he'll figure it out. No. You cannot start slow this year. There's no excuse. The Patriots had their undrafted free agent rookie backup kicker in the game, and he looked better than you. So there's no excuse. There's no, I need to warm up. The season's just started. I still have some jit. No, this is an undrafted free agent rookie backup that was in the game, out kicking you, because the Patriots starting kicker was hurt. So the fact that guy outplayed you, Dustin Hopkins, we need to bring in somebody. We need to bring in somebody to replace you, or at least somebody to get a fire under your belly to where you're I can't lose my job, so I got to be better. Either way, whatever you just did yesterday is unacceptable. You are the biggest stock down, because that's ridiculous, bro. Outplayed by an undrafted free agent rookie backup kicker. Come on now. I'm going to keep saying it. And then lastly, just to summarize, there's 3 guys that need to make the 53-man roster. I don't care what's going on. There's no way you let Jared Patterson, Sammis Reyes, and DeAndre Carter not make the 53-man roster, dangle them out there, and let another team scoop them up from our practice squad, or just flat out release them and another team picks them up, because they will be picked up. There's no way. There's no way the way Jared Patterson looked like he can be the perfect 1-2 punch to Antonio Gibson. The way that Sammis Reyes looks like he showed you all the potential he has. And then the fact that he's already our most physical blocker, at least from the tight end group. Like, that's day one playing potential right there. If we want to run the ball, if it's goal line, you call on Sammis Reyes over John Bates and Logan Thomas. That's crazy. And then DeAndre Carter looking like the returner we've been needing for a couple of years now, ever since Jamison Crowder left. There's no way you let any of those guys not make it. And then even like as an extra little guy, like a half, Dax Milne looked pretty solid out there yesterday. So I hope he makes the 53-man roster, but I wouldn't be as heated about him not making the 53-man roster as I would be about Jared Patterson, Sammis Reyes, or DeAndre Carter. All three of them should make this 53-man roster, no excuse. Somebody else got to go, I'm sorry. And then I want to end it on some other notables and quotables. First of all, somebody asked Rivera about that Daron Payne non-fumble recovery. And he said that he tells players to consider geography. When in the city, tight spaces, just fall on the ball. When in the country, open spaces, try to make a play. That's good to hear, but I don't even necessarily think that applies to that. Daron Payne, if that were a regular season game, you better fall on it. I guess he looked at Chase Young last year against the 49ers and was like, if he can do it, I can do it. No, we clearly see you can't. Hope you learned your lesson. If this were a regular season game, you better have fallen on it. I'm going to give him the huge benefit of the doubt, super glass half full, and just make the assumption that he didn't fall on it because he didn't want to risk injury in a game that doesn't matter. It's preseason. But still, like, when it's the regular season, you need to fall on that because Chase Young is going to be doing that a lot, and we need you and everybody else to be ready to fall on those fumbles because Chase Young's going to force a lot of them. And then lastly, really interesting, maybe not something to read too much into, it's just the preseason, literally just the first preseason game. But Cameron Curl and Landon Collins, where they played at last night was really interesting. Cameron Curl had 7 plays in the box, 2 at free safety and 3 in the slot, whereas Landon Collins had 2 plays in the box to Cameron Curl's 7, 9 plays at free safety to Cameron Curl's 2, and then he played 1 D-line play. I mean, that's a really weird mix-up. The fact that Landon Collins played more free safety and Cameron Curl played more strong safety and in the box, that's really interesting to take note of. I think they're just experimenting and seeing what they can get away with, but I don't know. That's definitely something to keep track of moving forward throughout the rest of this offseason, preseason, and training camp practices. Again, don't read too much into it, but it's really interesting. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Do you agree or disagree with anything? Is there anything I missed? Are there any players that I did not deeply talk about that you wish I did? Are there any things that you noticed in the preseason games that I didn't point out? Also, please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Again, please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video like this one. Also, be on the lookout for more rookie film sessions. De'Ami Brown is the next up. I would have had it out, but my eye has been killing me. The same reason I had to cut the live stream short at halftime last night is the same reason I haven't been able to get this De'Ami Brown film session out to y'all yet, because it's ready. I just, the light is, my eyes are killing me. I can't sit under light. So I'll get that to y'all as soon as possible. Just bear with me. Again, I appreciate all of the support. Appreciate everybody that donates to the channel. Big shouts out to everybody that's a channel member, especially all of my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Man, I really appreciate all y'all, man. Big time. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.